Let's bring in Nigel Farage, former UK Brexit Party leader. He joins us as well. Nigel, as Benjamin just said, he's been alive all of our lives. And for so much of Great Britain, he has been like that country, that Commonwealth's grandfather.
Yes, that's absolutely right. I mean, you've got to be over 70, well over 70, to remember a time when Prince Philip wasn't prominent in public life. Remember, the Queen acceded to the throne in 1952, and that's when he became her consort, and he's performed this incredible public role for nearly 70 years. I mean, it's unbelievable just to think about it. Indeed, the first Prime Minister, when the Queen came to the throne, was indeed Winston Churchill. So this span of history, from immediate post-Second World War until today, is astonishing. And you know something? I was privileged to meet him several times. And the human quality that he had was a tremendous sense of mischief, a tremendous sense of fun, and a sense of fun. And I know when someone's died.
What does that mischief thing mean, Nigel?
He was ever so good at teasing people. He was very good at saying things that weren't politically correct. And
you had a lot in common.
Well, I'll tell you a story. So the monarchy, of course, has to be above politics, and that's very important. I was invited to Buckingham Palace for a drinks reception in 2000, and I'd, a few months before, been elected as an MEP. So there were about 30 of us invited to this drinks party. So you line up and you're introduced to the Queen, and you bow and do your stuff and talk to the Queen. And then I was introduced to the Duke of Edinburgh, and he said to me, he said, yes, he said, you're that MEP chap, aren't you? And I said, Your Highness, I am. I said, but I have to be honest with you and tell you that though I'm a member of the European Parliament, I'm not a fan of the European Union institutions. And he looked at me and said, I quite understand. now that sort of summed up, really, Philip, that he played within the rules. He served, I mean, duty was the word that is carved right through his entire career, indeed his life. And yet there was always that slightly impish human side to him. And that's why people loved him. And, he leaves behind people mourning, not just in the United Kingdom, but don't forget that for nearly 70 years, he and the Queen relentlessly toured the Commonwealth, over 50 countries, 2.5 billion people living within it, and there'll be much mourning and sadness in Australia, Africa, many, many other, in India, all over the world. This man is going to be greatly missed.
So, Nigel, what's your take? What is your take on the controversy with Meghan and Harry? And the allegations of making those the race-related comments and the ripple effect overseas. How do you think, there's some reports that he was very angry about it, even though he was recovering from a hospital visit. What do you hear? So I spoke to, just before the Meghan and Harry interview aired, I was in London and I met face-to-face one of the royal correspondents for one of our big broadcasters, okay? And I said, come on, off the record, what's the situation with Philip? He said, look, we all know he's on his last legs. He isn't going to make it very long. It's very unlikely that he's going to get to June the 10th, which would, of course, have been his 100th birthday. So it was well known that Philip only had a few weeks to live. And yet, despite that, despite the fact the Queen must have, and she'd never show it in public, but the Queen must have been in a state of deep distress, despite all of that, they proceeded to do an interview at which they attacked, effectively, the older members of the royal family, indeed did their best to threaten the very institution itself. And given that today is the day that Philip has died, I won't use the words about Meghan and Harry that I would like to. I'll be gentle and say it was deeply disrespectful.
Okay.
Nigel, how do you think the Queen will fare? I know she's such a strong person, and we may never know because she's so private, but they were together for 73 years, and every movie or every book we've read that portrays their love, she was madly in love with him from day one.